But you let me know when we're all ready to go.
Do we have video training?
Oh, we do.
I had just gotten kicked off.
Oh. There are some links that I've attached there, and there is some video training on just provider admin things. And Jeff, I'm going to start recording now, and then I'll just leave my laptop on to record the rest of it, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to step away in a little bit, and Jeff will continue on where I've left off. But if you have questions, please let us know. Everyone is still able to talk if you have a microphone attached to your computer, or if you have, or if you're connecting to us via phone, you'll be able to talk as well. So with that being said, for those of you guys that use that link to come in, you should be able to see Jeff's screen right there. And so we'll go through how to do these things in Therap. If you have a little message next to your name that says offline or something like that, but you can see what we're doing and you're unable to sort of unmute yourself so you can talk, please type in that chat box, and we'll certainly answer any questions that you have as they come up. The other thing that you'll notice is you have a little link for materials in this Go to Training, and I'll continue to put more materials there as we move on, because this one Go to Training sort of signed you up for all of our trainings from here until December. So the second Thursday of every month we'll be meeting for a couple hours, and we'll go over some very specific topics. Today we're really going to go over a little bit about how the provider admin, what they can do in Therap if you're a provider, and then what you could do if you're a provider admin for oversight. And I just cut somebody off. Was there a question out there?
Oh no, I'm on a call. Who do you need?
Nobody here. I saw.
We get farther along. I'm not seeing Jeff's screen.
Oh.
All I'm seeing is connected to Go to Training. And it says your session should begin shortly, and we have begun. So I don't see the screen.
Huh.
Is anybody else having that problem?
Mine is fine.
Did that, Jeff just sort of reset that. Is there any?
Not getting
You
it.
see it now, Kathy?
Just a second, let me go back. Nope, don't see it.
Huh.
Says,
But other people,
I'm sorry, it just says your session should begin shortly. You can close this window now. And so let's close the window. And I just go back to my home page. So let me click on the Go to Meeting again. Nope, unless you've got the Therap first page on. Oh, you do. I'm sorry. I've got it. I was confused because I was seeing the Therap first page and I was on Therap also. Okay. I'm so confused. Thanks a lot.
All right. Okay, so everyone can see Jeff's screen. That's good. So I'm going to ask Kathy here then, what are some of the things that you sort of see as the role of the provider admin at the agency as opposed to the role of the provider admin at the oversight level?
Actually, I do have a PowerPoint here that I was going to use. And so anyway, do you want me to send this to you, or do you?
Oh yeah, send it. That would be great.
Okay.
I can actually put it right on here so that we all have the access to that if you would like.
All righty. Yeah. Let me send this to you then, and I'll send you all of my let me find the email with all my attachments as well. Why don't you kind of go ahead while I get this done, because for some reason or another I'm not finding what I was looking for.
Okay. So really the role of the provider admin, and Jeff's actually on the oversight right now, but the role of the provider admin is really to sort of manage the system. And so if we talk about the provider admin in a provider account, what they're really doing is they're managing the system for their agency. And whether that agency has 3 staff in it and 1 individual, or 15 staff and 30 individuals, it matters. It doesn't matter how many people are in there. They're still going to manage their Therap system as a provider administrator. And so now he's in a provider account, and it's really sort of listed there as to, you know, what is their password policy, who they could put in as a user, you know, and he's clicking on some things, which is perfect. But he can certainly do anything here just by saying, okay, so this is a new user. He could also, yeah, and he could go ahead and put in anyone here as a new user. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but they are tasked with really being able to manage their own Therap account. And I think in Montana, one of the things I think that we've run into is, I don't know as if everyone really realizes that they have the power that they do at their agency level to make sure that they're giving out staff accounts to be able to access SCOMs or be able to access GERs, or to be able to print out a PDF with some specific information on it. So, and Jeff's going through here with adding a new person and then giving them specific roles in the system. And you guys all know that in Therap, you're given specific abilities. We call them super roles. And you're also given a caseload, and that's who you can see in the system. Okay. And he's giving out just some overall roles here. For this one account.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
So they really have the ability to manage who sees what in Therap. They could give out a Therap account to anyone that works there or anyone that they choose to that needs to have information about a specific individual. They also can manage their super roles here. They can manage, and that's really what you have there. Every little click allows somebody to do something specific there. For you guys, I think one of the things that I've seen in a lot of providers is they'll turn everything on and you don't really need to right now. Better just to have the modules turned on that you're going to use, like the general event reports, maybe the individual data section. Yeah, maybe the individual home page. And then if we scroll down a little lower, the medical information review and edit, or view and edit. And that just allows them to put on diagnosis, allergies, and any end of life care. So those are the things that really need to be turned on for you guys currently in Montana. Certainly, SCOM is a separate role, and that's that ability to use the SCOM system within Therap, which is like the compliant mail system. So, so if he saves that down below, that's really all that's needed to be in super roles there. But you also have the ability, Jeff, if you could go to provider preference. This is where I think a lot of people skip over. Number one, how long do you want the account on for? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 60 minutes, 15 minutes? And I don't think, Kathy, you don't have a specific rule for your providers there in Montana, do you?
No, we don't. We just use the default.
Okay. So they can manage their session timeout, which means that Therap will log you out if it's not being used after 15 minutes or after 30 minutes, whatever that is set to. We also have the ability there to put a logo on, which is that next box there. And so you could display a logo on any PDF that is printed out of Therap. You would just choose your file, choose your logo.
Make sure it's a JPEG.
All right. And then every PDF that you print out would have your logo on it. The other thing on this preferences area, if you scroll down a little, you can choose the starting day of the week, Monday, Sunday. And then I'm going to skip right over down to, and GER preference. We don't have anything specific there for Montana at this point. So if they choose anything there, what they're going to do is just make themselves have to say that they've notified specific people if certain incidences occur. Keep scrolling down. We're going to skip over the things Montana isn't using. To PDF preference here. So if you choose anything here, like their name, their Medicaid number, date of birth, or social security number, whatever you choose there will automatically appear on the upper right-hand corner of any GER that you, or I'm sorry, any PDF that you print out. It could be a GER, it could be something else from there. So that would be there along with your logo. If you don't want all of those to appear, just uncheck them. Uncheck the box. A lot of people don't like having social security numbers there, so they'll uncheck that and then just leave it at individual name maybe and birth date. And then at the very bottom of the page there, you would just click Save to update these. There we are. And so essentially, the role of the provider admin is big. I mean, they need to manage Therap at their agency. And that entails everything from creating new accounts for people to adding new individuals to their account, and we'll get there in a minute here, to adding provider preference there, and also being able to reset passwords, which is probably more of their time. And Jeff's just going to go through that just to show you what that looks like.
And click on the name here, and then you're able to reset the password. What a lot of people do is they'll do like a basic word like password, all lowercase, and maybe check this, ignore the password policy. That way, it's a simple password that people can remember, and then when they log back in, they'll be required to change it to whatever your password policy is here.
Now, in Montana, we use welcome as a default.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Let's get back. So really, we have quite a bit that you can do as a provider admin at an agency level. But it gets really significantly more important that you understand all of the things that you can do here. And actually, before we go into oversight, Jeff, can you show them how to run, how to use, can you go up a little bit, the activity tracking there?
Sure. Absolutely. So activity tracking, hit view here. There's a lot of different options you have when it comes to activity tracking, and you can track really sort of any activity that you want at any particular level. So you could choose, if you wanted to look at one particular program. You could look at one particular login name if you wanted. Then you have a date range. I'm gonna, you can do a month at a time here. Look at August. Go look at a full month. And then you can look at any particular module that you wanted to. Any sort of action. Whether somebody was, saved or created a program, published, or you can look at activity type, did they download an attachment, export to Excel. I'm not going to do anything. I just want to look at everything. So I'm looking at everything that's been done in this account from August 10th until today. And I look, and this will tell me I changed the password of Kyle Snyder. Okay. I changed provider preferences. I updated a super role. I updated somebody's user privileges. I created a user. Okay. We had some other folks. So this is an account for folks in South Dakota. So they were doing stuff here late last month. They're looking at individual homepage. I was in here. I logged in, logged off. I did a custom form template. Looked through that library. Updated some super roles. So it kind of gives you an idea of how to look at what people are doing. Like I said, if you want to do it by a particular staff person, you could do that. Okay, and it's just going to show me everything that Samantha's done since August 10th. Another helpful one is login failure. So I want to see everyone who's had a login failure between August 10th and today, and there was nobody. Well, that's good. So there's all sorts of different things you could do to track what people are doing in Therap.
All
Any
right.
questions on that?
No questions
right.
here. But, this a lot of times on live help when we're asked about some specific things, a lot of times some of the information that we get is actually from this activity tracking area. So if you can't find a document, or if you're having a hard time figuring out where someone is having issues, or what's not happening with a specific document or a specific module, we go in there a lot to find out what are the actions that a user has taken. Is it that they're just not pressing save? You know, where is the form ID? So we can find out a lot from that area, and we use it quite extensively. Now, as an oversight user, really your role, and I'm going to quote Kathy here because I have her information now. I'll add this onto the onto your materials there. But as an oversight administrator, you really have access into quite a bit of Therap. Not only will you have access into the state as a whole, but as a provider admin for the state of Montana, then you're going to be able to change a lot of things in providers' accounts. I would caution you against that. You want to just touch what you're supposed to be touching, and don't go beyond that. So having the oversight provider admin comes with responsibility on your account there. So here's Kathy's list of what your responsibility really is. You're going to assign the oversight number. You're going to enter new members into the Therap system, transfer members into provider accounts, and link them to other related service software. And I'm not sure, Kathy, can you expand on that at all?
Actually, anytime I enter someone into the Therap account, I also enter them into what our rates and cost plan system. And then also, if I'm admitting a user, I have to make sure that they're also entered into the College of Direct Supports. So those are things that we do. Also, sometimes we have to link these people to people like our licensing agencies, staff who are responsible for that particular individual in that particular provider agency. Sometimes we have to link them to a particular protective services worker, child or adult protective services. Sometimes we link them with therapists. Sometimes we link them with other oversight agencies that deal with long-term care. So that is something that the oversight administrator for the state will be involved in doing. Questions or comments? Okay.
Do we want to do, Kathy, go through a quick referral, or how do you?
Actually, what I wanted to do was kind of go through, get into the oversight account, which you have up now, and start talking about some of the things that people will be doing.
Okay.
One of the things that individuals will need to do in assigning an individual to Therap If people want to look at adding a new member to the DDP oversight account handout that I sent people, make sure, first of all, before you even start the process, that you have the privileges to do this. That sounds like a given, but not necessarily so. You cannot add someone to the system unless you have a privilege. You cannot give someone a privilege unless you already have that privilege. So make sure that you, the person who is assigned to add someone in to the system, has that privilege, the individual privilege on their provider account. The other thing is that we need to make sure that we have all the information we need to enter when we're entering someone. When you're entering a individual into Therap, you cannot, all you can do is save it. You can't go back and save a draft. So anything that's starred must be filled in, and you need to make sure that you fill it in accurately. Don't use nicknames, please. That is very confusing. You will find that when you're having to manage an individual in the oversight account, oftentimes people will use a nickname when they contact you. So make sure that when we enter this information, we are entering it using the person's full name, and then add the nickname in the goes by. We need to be very consistent, and one of the problems that has occurred at times is providers have entered the individual into their system before the oversight agency has entered the individual into the system. And so we wind up with all these people who are not connected to one another. So it's also very essential that we reinforce to people that a person entering the system has to be admitted into the oversight account first. That is very critical. Another thing we need to make sure is that we use the AWACS number as the identifier for the person's member ID. And the reason for that is that we are referring to individuals in our cross-agency communications when they are not completely secure. We are using all kinds of information, and we want to be consistent and use the AWACS number so that people can come back to Therap or come back to other services, the other software, and say this is that individual, without giving up any identifying information that people would be able to break into or use for other purposes. Only the Developmental Disabilities Program and the Department of Public Health and Human Services uses the AWACS number in their services. So that's one of the reasons that we're asking for the AWACS number. Also, the oversight ID. Before you enter this person into the system, you must have figured out your oversight ID. And your oversight ID has to be done consistently. It needs to be capital M, capital T, and many of you enter lowercase m, lowercase t. And then right now we're up to 5 digits. Any number, oversight number that's been added into the system remains in the system even after the person is deceased, so that you could go back and retrieve archived data. So we are using 5 numbers. Quite often some people have used lowercase mt and 4 numbers, or sometimes fewer. Make sure that that's the system that we're using. Somebody one time asked me, why are you being such a stickler about capital M, capital T versus lowercase mt? It's the same thing. No, it's not. Because we have had confusion at times in locating people's files because one person had uppercase and one person had lowercase. And Therap will accept both. So we need to make sure that we are consistent in the way we number people. So anyway, that is my lecture about that, and also wanting to make sure that that is very clear. And that's in your guidelines that I set out to you. Make sure that that oversight number is consistent. You can find the last used oversight number as a starting point to determine the oversight number. Therap has a report, and if Jeff, if you will go back to your dashboard, I think, well, it's in our report library. It may not be in yours. Do you, in the report library, do you have last number used? You may have set that up for us. Last oversight number. Okay.
I'm not. It might not be in this account.
No, it may not be in this account. It's in mine.
Yeah.
And it's in all the Montana users.
Okay.
People with Therap administrator oversight privileges. So that is in your handout that I sent you on page 2. The report is the last assigned ID for oversight. And it will bring up a number. And this is the last number that was used by an administrator in Montana. And the handout, when I brought up the number, it had a oversight number that had lowercase mt and 4 numbers. So I want to make sure that I emphasize that that is a number that we don't want to use anymore. We don't want to use a number with that configuration. We need to have the uppercase mt and the 5 digits. Right now, currently in the Therap account, active, inactive, deceased individuals, we are very, very close to 10,000 people. So we need to make sure that we use a 5-digit number. All right. So what shall we do? Shall we, let's talk, we're taking things kind of out of order from what I had intended, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. So we're talking about entering the new person into the Therap system. And so Jeff had showed you how to enter that person. When it is saved, it will go, that information goes on to the individual data form. So right now they're in depending admission, and if you click on the name, you get the individual data form. Again, coming into the oversight account first allows this individual data sheet started. And then information can be added as needed. One of the things that I want to also emphasize here is go down to the address and put in the, oh, you're going to need to edit this, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Go down to the bottom of the page and edit individual data. You're going to need to put in Montana. You don't necessarily need to put in a lot more information at this time, but that is not a starred field in the Montana.
Yeah.
And it will allow you to save your information as you go. But if you don't put in the Montana now, the next time you use the individual data sheet, it will not allow you to continue. So make sure, and save. So make sure that you enter that when you enter the person, and then you don't have to do it again. So when you enter the person in, as you saw, the person went into the individual, automatically had an individual data form started. So you save that, and then you need to go back, because now the person is pending admission, but they haven't been admitted. So you need to go down to the bottom of the page and admit the person. It's real simple. Just click on admit and then enter the admission date. You can use the calendar, or you can determine what date the person would be admitted. If the person were already to be, would have been admitted sooner if you hadn't gotten to it, but you have to, or if the person is going to be admitted later, they're not going to let you put in a date that is later than today. So you need to make sure that you enter a date that is either today or prior to that date. But you can enter whatever date you need to enter in there. So that's pure and simple how you admit somebody. Very simple.
And you get this message here to let you know they were successfully admitted.
Right. So that's all in your handout, and it'll walk you through the different screens that we have in the Montana account, and let you know how to do it. So that's fairly straightforward. I want to talk a little bit about the privileges still. I did send you guys a comparison of provider versus oversight super roles. Now, in doing this and putting this together, I did a Excel sheet that compares what the super roles that could be assigned to a oversight administrator would be, and the super roles that a provider administrator would be. All of them are the same. The differences are in the scope, with the exception of two. There are, and I do not understand why this is not an option in Montana, and maybe Jeff, you or Deb or Kitty can explain why. But we have the ability to assign behavior event reports, to submit, view, or delete them, to assign them the privilege to work with behavior plans, submit, view, delete, or approve, update. Custom forms, same thing, submit, view, update, approve, or delete. Emergency data forms. You can get a view, or you can print it. These are all privileges. I'm not going to go through every one, but the one privilege that we have in the oversight account that we do not have in the provider accounts is the individual plan of protection, and I'm not exactly sure why. Because the individual plans of protection, I don't know, are they not in our provider contract? Is our user contract? You
That I
done?
don't know. I would have to check in on that. So you don't have how we
Kathy,
would
are you talking about, Kathy, are you talking about the IPOP?
Yes.
The IPOP has to be turned on, and at the conference, Deb was going to go through and turn every agency's IPOP on. It is part of the Therap Basic. It's just that an agency just has to let us know they want to have it turned on, in which, when that happens, then those privileges will show up on that super role page.
Okay. Because I looked at that when I was working on this, and I thought, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why would we be developing the individual plan of protection? The provider agency would know more about that. And then the other thing that providers do not have, and it's because we're just reviewing it, it is not something that is in our contract, is the oversight referral. And so when you see that, that is something that Kathy Murphy and I are working on. And we're discussing this with Therap and with our administration, and that would be a way of doing referrals and managing the people who are moving from one agency to another more smoothly. And so it would cut out one of our processes that are kind of off to one side. But a decision has not been made about that yet. So we also do not use the habilitation plan, even though it is on the privileges page. So we need to make sure that that one is just left alone. But those are comparisons, and as you can see, they're the very same for both administrators from the oversight account and administrators from the provider accounts. The difference, as I said, are in scope. And the scope differences have to do with how broad or how global. So the oversight account administers multiple provider accounts. You could get into all of the providers that are covered under the DDP Montana account. So looking at, most of you are familiar with this stuff, and I'm just going over it just to make sure that we have it documented and that it is straight in us. In order to get into those provider accounts, all you need to do is use your switch provider link there. And then the demonstration or the oversight provider for Montana, the DDP will always be at the top of your page, and then you will have a linked, a list of linked providers, provider accounts. In order to get it, you just click on it, and most of you have done this. Deb said, and I want to reiterate to people that we have provider administrators that are responsible for entering things into the provider accounts and managing those provider accounts. What we do as oversight administrators is we assist them in doing it. So it's very important for you to understand what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. But as Deb said, we don't want to go in there and be mucking about in those accounts, because there's all kinds of problems involved there. First of all, I don't personally know what's going on for sure on a day-to-day basis with that provider account. And they also are independent providers. And so it is very important that, as Deb mentioned, we don't do things within the provider accounts unless it is something that the provider knows about, knows that we're going to do, and has asked us to assist them in doing it. As much as possible, try to tell them how to do it, give them directions on how to do it, and if you can, there's lots and lots of information on the Therap help links that allow you to get into those accounts and understand what they're trying to do. They have a lot of guidelines, a lot of help documents. Give them to your provider and talk about it with your provider. Use it as a training opportunity to bring up those provider help, those Therap help documents, and then walk through them with them. It will cut down your workload substantially, and it'll also not violate their turf, to be direct about it. It is just, you don't want to be stepping on people's toes. You have a lot of power as with your as a oversight administrator, and you want to make sure that you use that power discreetly and with respect for the providers. So anyway, the oversight account manages the multiple providers, and the provider accounts are very limited in their administrative scope. They cannot get into other people's accounts unless there's agreements made between them. We can get into this at another time, but that cross-provider, the COIS, function in Therap does allow people to share information and share access into their cross-provider accounts. But both providers have to agree to it. It has to be turned on in both providers. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. The oversight account should have all members receiving DDP waiver services entered into it. Many of our children's services have not, people who are in children's services have not been entered into the provider account. That was a decision that was made because of the fact that children move in and out of our services. But as they become more active within their services, they need to be in the Therap oversight account and in the provider accounts. So the provider accounts only serve the persons who are admitted to their services, and but all members receiving DDP waiver services should be in the wings, if nothing else, as being added to Therap. As people need to keep records on Therap, with GERs in particular, those children need to be entered into the Therap account. Also, as an oversight administrator, you have a much more global perspective, and the providers should have a more focused perspective. So her global perspective will involve being hands off as much as possible. Is there a comment? Okay. Also, in the oversight account, there'll be many users who may or may not provide direct services, and that's a real difference between the accounts. In the provider account, just about everybody who is entered into this account as a user is providing a direct service of some sort or another. This is what you already know, but that's one of the things to keep in mind, is that a lot of the users in your oversight account may not be providing direct services. They may be oversight from other agencies, as I mentioned before. The oversight account has a wide range of activities and agencies that are not necessarily part of the DDP service system. Many of them are from outside agencies. In particular, I'm thinking in terms of some of the oversight users who are counselors or individuals within the services. The provider account, they're usually directly supervised by the agencies or are members of the planning team. And another thing I want to say in here is that we have agencies that have identified as users or added as users people who are also in the oversight account. We need to kind of root that out if we can and try and have the people use their oversight account as much as possible, because there's been a lot of confusion. Many of you have run into it where you're trying to contact someone about an individual or about something that's going on in what you're trying to, the work you're trying to do, and there may be 3 accounts. You need to make sure people are encouraged to use that oversight account. So many members of planning teams, if they are involved in other provider agencies, need to be in the oversight account. User services in the oversight account may not be provided daily or even for long term. Many of our protective agencies only wish to have the person added to their caseload if they are actively working on something. Others want to just keep them that way, but there's a wealth of information in Therap, as we all know, and especially in the oversight account. We need to make sure that people only have privileges at the time for what they need to do. And many of our outside agencies or outside oversight users have spoken to me about the fact that they don't want to have all those privileges. They only want to be able to have their privileges turned on and off as they need them. And then in provider accounts, the user services are usually provided daily and long term, and so they're going to need to have their privileges pretty much established. So that could be very different between the oversight and the service provider agency accounts. So anyway, questions, comments? All right. It's 11 o'clock. Do we want to take a short break? Anybody? Well, have I lost you all?
I'm still here, Kathy.
All right, good. I'm glad. I hope I'm not talking to the wind. I'm known to do that. Around my house especially, I'll be talking and then look up and there's nobody around.
I'm here, Kathy.
Kathy, this is Kitty. It wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe just touch base on the providers and which accounts, because they can put everybody in Therap, but just, the awareness of when providers ask your ARs, can this person go in Therap? Is it part of the state contract? Isn't it part of the state contract? And kind of steps to go through if it's not part of that state contract.
And that is something I wanted to cover when we were specifically users.
Okay, then don't let me.
We're doing now. We have several providers in Montana that use Therap very effectively for individuals who are not receiving DDP waiver funded services. We only pay Therap for the DDP funded services. And so when people add people from agencies such as vocational rehabilitation, senior and long-term care, people who are self-pay, a number of different categories of users, of members. Those people are in our agency, listed in our agency, and we have been paying Therap by the individual. We need to kind of work in the next month or so on identifying those individuals who should be in Therap, and we should be paying for them as DDP waiver funded individuals, and identifying those who are not funded under the DDP waiver services, and make sure that that is very clear in Therap so that we pay for the people that we are funding, and that the provider can do this. But they could still use Therap, but they are going to have to pay for the use of Therap for those individuals. And that makes a big difference. It will make a big difference in the number of individuals we have in Therap, because some of our agencies serve a vast number of people in different settings and from different services, and the funding streams sometimes get confusing. But we need to be very clear that Therap is being paid by the Developmental Disabilities Program for those individuals who are in DDP waiver-funded services.
And Kathy, are you, should then the provider unlink them from the oversight account? Is that how you're determining who you should be paying for and who you shouldn't be paying for?
We need to get those people identified, and then after that we need to remove their oversight link.
Yep. If you look here, I'm in a provider account right now.
Right.
And I clicked on somebody's individual homepage, and if I come down here to where it says oversight, this tells me that it's linked to this oversight account. So what I would need to do is go in here, update oversight, and it's not going to let me because it's got a number. But there's usually a button here that says remove, and you would be able to do that.
Okay, why don't we show them how to do that? You go back to the dashboard.
Yep.
And then go down to, oh, wait a minute, you're not in the, you're in a provider account. Go to an oversight account. Switch to the oversight account, please. Okay, go to the oversight, and then go down to the, let's see, yes, under multi-provider individual.
Yep.
Click on link individuals with oversight ID.
Okay.
And then identify the individual that you wish to move by the name.
Yep. Okay.
And then edit them. Click on edit. And they will come up with all of the individuals who are, all the providers that they're linked to. Go up to the, choose edit under action. And then click remove up above. That will take the person's name, ID number off, the oversight ID. You do that for all of your individuals so that they are no longer linked to the DDP oversight account. All your individual agencies that are not necessarily serving the individual under the DDP waivers. So it's very easy to do, but again, you go to link individuals by oversight ID on the dashboard under multi-provider, individuals. You search for the individual. Click Edit. And then choose the oversight provider for Montana. Click on Edit, pardon me. And then you can remove them by clicking on Remove. Okay? You can also use this function to coordinate your oversight numbers, because sometimes we have individuals who have more than one oversight ID. Makes for a lot of confusion because agencies can only talk to those other agencies that share that oversight ID. That oversight ID is critical for navigating Therap for multi-provider individuals. So we have cases that I've been working on as I catch them, and sometimes I just simply look to see if I have duplicates. I have a very large Excel sheet where I have all the individuals in Montana who have been entered into Therap, and I do searches on that on a regular basis to try to find individuals who are duplicated and have duplicate oversight IDs. And then using that function of linking individuals with the oversight ID, I can remove one of the oversight IDs and then link them all to the same number. So remove and then add the correct number. Many times an individual has been entered into the Therap account in the provider agency, and they do not have an oversight ID. And people are telling me they cannot find this person in their agencies, and they can't talk to that person in SCOM, to the people who work with them. They can't share information. They can't actually use Therap the way they should. And so sometimes you have to add the oversight ID by using that same method. So now we're talking about sending referrals. That's what just got up on the
And go back. Yep.
Yeah, are we doing the quick referral? You want to go back and show me what we're doing? Yeah, let's do the quick referral,
Yeah.
because right now that's what we're doing. Okay. When you have a person that you want to refer, you can filter the list by adding their person into the text box at the top of the page. You can also search for them by clicking on the letter of their first name, their last name, I'm sorry. And then you'll get you can winnow down your list. Click on find the person in the list and then click on send, and then you will be given a list of providers that you can send this individual to. And this is how you move one person who is porting from one place to the other, is you take them, you click on the name of the provider that you are sending the person to, and then click send. So if you're sending them to several providers that are going to serve this person, then you click on each provider, or you're only going to send it to one. What this will do is when you go to the provider account, this person will be in their pending admissions file. And then what I do is I send a very quick SCOM to the provider administrator and tell them that this person is sitting in their pending admissions under care on the admin page. And there she is. They, from there, can enroll the person in a program and admit the person. It's very clear, it's very simple. Just click on admit, pick a date, and click done. And you get the successfully admitted screen. If you don't get that, you didn't do it. So, watch for that successfully admitted screen. So, what you will be needing to do in some of the cases is explain to your provider how to do this. Do not admit the person to a provider agency unless that provider asks you to do it. But it is so simple. It is so much better to just teach them how to do it, and then they do it. Will save your workload substantially, because I spend a lot of my time working on these kinds of issues, and it can become overwhelming if you start doing for someone instead of doing teaching them how to do it. It's the old story of you can give a man a fish, but you're better off teaching him how to fish. That's one of the things you'll be doing a lot of. Pardon me?
Kathy, Terry has a question. She's wondering why or when would you use the quick referral?
When someone is porting into the agency, when a person has been selected by the provider and the porting has been done and they are ready to admit an individual, that's when you would do the quick referral and put them into their pending admissions. But make sure that you've told people you're doing that in the provider agency, because a lot of times people will call and say, well, how do I get this information? I haven't seen anything yet. That's the way it's done. You just tell them, look in your pending admissions, I have put the person there. Any other questions or comments? All right. Let me go through my things here and make sure that I've.
Do we want to show how to link individuals with the oversight ID, Kathy?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
So go ahead and do link
Okay. All right. So you click this.
Yeah, link individuals with oversight ID.
And you just do a search here.
Right. You
find Helen.
Name and then search. Search. Choose your search criteria. Last name, first name.
Oh, is it not? Oh. Huh. Did I? Yeah, here it is.
I think you put in, well, you put in her first name.
There it is.
Okay. If you put in a search and you get several different names, and you will get a list at the bottom, then you just choose the individual that you're searching for. Now, all of these people have been linked.
Yep.
But what you do for the sake of discussion is we're going to remove one of the oversight IDs. And all you do is that when you link them and they don't have an oversight ID or it's not a correct oversight ID, you click edit and then you assign the number. You remove the wrong one, assign the new one. so that it is the same in all agencies that are providing services to that individual, including the oversight. And you will get the oversight number from the oversight provider for Montana account. Okay. Questions? Okay, what else do we want to discuss today? Because we pretty much talked about what I had on my list. Do you guys from Aware, Kitty or Jeff, did you have anything? I don't know whether Deb is still on, but.
She's not. No, she had to go. Looks like she covered everything she had planned to go over, I think.
Okay.
Let me double check. Let me fix the email here.
And I think if the folks on the call could, just send in questions that we could cover the first part of the next call, that would help too.
Yes.
If they don't think of something now or something pops up that's confusing or they're not quite sure about.
Okay. The only thing that we really wanted to cover today were to discuss what you need to do as an administrator and kind of open up that overview of what a oversight administrator does, and the power that's given to you, and use it wisely. And then talking and you guys did a good job of going through what the provider agency administrators do. We did show you navigating between the provider accounts and the oversight accounts several different times, but you guys already do that pretty well. But just switching providers, going back and forth, and then enrolling a new individual member into the Therap oversight account. And I sent you all that information, what was needed on the individual data form and why you need to make sure that you have it in your hot little hands before you even begin the process, because of the fact that it's very frustrating to start the process and realize you don't have all the information you need, because then you have to start all over from the beginning. And then make sure that your oversight number is consistent with the way I asked you to do it, the capital letter MT and then 5 digits. And how you come up with that number is you get the report and you try using the number that the last assigned number. That's a good way to start. Some of you, I've noticed, use specific digits to start with. Some of the agency numbers seem to have their initial number seems to be consistent across agencies, regions. I think that's fine, but just remember that we're talking about you're going to have about 1,000 individuals that you could add, or using the region number as the first one. I'm not going to dictate that to you, but it seems to be a pretty good method. But you'd be surprised how fast those numbers get used up. And then there are other people who are in the system who already have those numbers assigned to them that start with, say, region. You're in region 4 and it starts with a 4. So sometimes it's the oversight number. You try a number and then just change a couple of those digits in there until it accepts it. And it's been kind of a hit or miss at times. What I did do for myself in assigning those numbers is I have that Excel sheet that has all the people in Montana, and that is a report that you can generate. All the individuals in Therap, that have ever been entered, and then you do get a list of numbers that have been assigned, and then you can look for numbers that have not been assigned, available numbers. And that usually has been a very good method for me to do that, because then I have a list of numbers that I could start with to try to work from. And I have a sheet that I've put some of those numbers that are available on, so that I can use those numbers when I'm setting people up. So that's the information I wanted to cover today. I did send you a whole bunch of cheat sheets and some information to just kind of look through. I know you didn't have time to really go through them, but they're mainly guidelines. I'm going to be putting together guidelines that use screenshots from the Montana account, so that it says on there where to look for it on the Montana dashboard, oversight dashboard, where to look for it in a provider account dashboard. Next time around, what I have on my list is how to manage user accounts, entering a new user and assigning their roles and admin privileges. I sent them to you this time, and we can talk about that. We also need to talk about the difference between locking and deactivating an account, and whether or not you should delete an account, a user account. That's not a good thing to do. And then we're going to talk about caseloads, and that's going to take a little while. Not forever, but a little while, because Therap has gone to those individual caseloads, and assigning caseloads has little tricks and wiggles to it. Then we're going to talk about how to manage the individual members' accounts, and we talked a little bit about that today. How to edit the information, how to link them, we talked about that. How to move an individual is porting, we talked about that. So I'll update this. You guys, like Kitty said, if you guys have things you need to know about or need us to discuss or show you, then please let us know. You can email me, you can, and I'll share it with Deb and Jeff and Kitty. We do need to know when to deactivate an individual account after an individual leaves services or in the event of the death of the member, because that needs to be done pretty consistently. We need to know how long to leave it open after a person dies, or we need to discuss how long that account needs to be open in providers or in the oversight account, so that people can finish their work. And sometimes it might take a while to get it done. And then how do we get information when the account is deactivated? So those are, or a person's been discharged from a provider account. So those are things that I had on the list. If you have something else, please let us know. In November, we want to talk about using reports and trending data, and that's going to take a while to do too. These guys from Therap are wonderful about showing us these things. We're trying to, as many of you know, work on our incident management so that it's consistent and the data that comes in is good data. And then once we get the data, what do we do with it? And some of the provider agencies have been working on this. Some of the regional offices have been doing a real good job of working on their trending. So we need to all be on the same sheet of music for that. And then in December, the last session you're going to have with me, as far as I know. I think that's the plan at this point. I'm definitely retiring. We don't have any specific topics. That's something we're also going to need feedback from you guys about, as to what you consider to be really crucial to have us talk while I'm still around and maybe can help you with it. So anyway, thank you all for attending. And
thank you.
Jeff and Kitty, do you have any more comments?
I think we're good. We covered everything that was on the agenda for today, so I think we're good.
Okay, good.
I think we're in good shape.
All right, give us feedback. It's really important because make these things really usable and really effective for everybody. Don't want to leave you just hanging out when you take over running the oversight accounts. So anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Hey.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.